Want some, get some. Can I get a hell yeah? Yes, I am a pirate. You have to go with the pirates because, of course, they have cannons and everything. It's a pirate's life for me. Be proud of who you are and what you are. You're pirate.
It is a first down. Pirates.
Because when you're at East Carolina, you go for it every time. When you don't coach at East Carolina, you don't come to East Carolina, you don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart. Write it.
I think I've ever been in a building as loud as that was. It was deafening in there.
You live with Omaha? I can promise you that. And a triple all night long in Eastern North Carolina.
You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.
My heart is purple and gold. I'm a pirate down of my soul, and I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode.
Welcome into the Sports Objective TSO Wednesday Night. It normally would be our preview show, but there's really not anything to preview, so we're calling it TSO Wednesday Night. We have got a action-packed show. I know Kyle doesn't like when I say we have a great show because he says every show cannot be great, and I understand that. But ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have John Palmer, General Merchandising Manager for EC Student Stores, to talk about what to get your favorite pirate on the list. We have David Glenn to talk about ACC Pirates, whatever else he wants to talk about in this crazy world of college football and college sports and beyond. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll bring in Kyle from LaGrange Barber. How are you, sir?
No, it's not great. We can always have a great show. It's a very special show. Every show can't be special.
Okay.
But so what I heard is DG's going to talk about the Pirates going to the ACC. Is that what I just heard?
No, not quite.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. That's what I thought you said.
Well, I will tell you that, not to get sidetracked, but I will tell you that we have the capability of being in Atlantic Coast Conference. It's a matter of our fans will step up and give boatloads of money.
We'll get into the ACC when the Big East, once the Big Ten and the SEC decides to swallow up whoever else they want to swallow up, and it's the Power Two. That's when we'll get in. But anyway, a lot to talk about. It's actually, early National Signing Day. NCAA, as I saw somebody else say here recently, it's got to do something about college football. You got National Signing Day, early National Signing Day, which is really National Signing Day. You got the transfer portal. You got bowl season. You got the coaching carousel, all going on at the same time. It's a nightmare. You can't even enjoy it right now. You can't even enjoy waiting for your bowl bid because of all the other nonsense. But it does give you a lot to talk about.
That's what I was getting ready to say. It gives us JR. It gives us a lot to talk about. JR, Johnny Stats, has a lot of stats we're going to talk about tonight. And if we didn't have any of that stuff, then we would have to make up stats, right, Johnny? Make up something.
True, Dave. But I don't actually have a pile of statistics, but I do have some ones that I think are significant in regards to recruiting. But yeah, the whole thing with what Kyle was speaking about, I just feel bad for the schools that don't have a coach currently because the coach left for another place, and now they're trying to sign, a high school recruiting class. And if you look at, some of the rankings, it's pretty evident, that it clearly really hurt recruiting. For some reason, LSU, it really didn't hurt them at all. I guess maybe kids were told, hey, maybe, we got Lane Kiffin coming or whatever. But Penn State, I think they're 144th. And that's the bottom of the list. But there's a lot of other schools that are, not quite in that bad of a situation, but still really took a big hit because, no portal, no coach. It's really difficult to try to land some high school recruits.
JR, over under on how soon the Penn State AD gets fired?
Boy, I heard a bizarre story that I was going to ask David about later if it's true, regarding Mr. Kraft. What's his first name?
Bob?
No, it's not Bob Kraft. The AD at Penn State. I give him Kyle. What do you know his first name, David?
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah, I can't think of it either.
I'll ask Alexa.
Anyhow, Mr. Kraft, I feel like is on a short rope, and I don't see how it can survive unless he's got something up his sleeve, like
Patrick Kraft.
yeah,
Patrick.
oh, okay, Patrick Kraft. Okay, unless Patrick Kraft has something up his sleeve, like
Matt
flipping
Campbell.
flipping the coach, Matt Campbell from Iowa State or Kalen DeBoer from Alabama. I know that sounds crazy, but that's what he needs. Something like that. And I just don't see it happening. It's not coming.
Hey, DG, would it be Dabo Sweeney?
No, Dabo's taking heat from his own fan base because of the downturn of that program, but he's not taking heat from his own administration. Those are always two very different questions.
No doubt about it. So let's bring in, we'll talk more about that, but first we want to have John on. And John, David's son, Anthony, actually went to ECU. So I think he probably owns some ECU stuff if my memory serves me right. But let's start off with DG. What can you get DG for Christmas?
Well, let's tell everybody where John's from, so they just don't think John's some random dude.
He's a general merchandising manager from the ECU student stores. So a lot of great merchandise there. And I was in man, I tell you what, I felt like an old man, and I am old, but went into the student stores recently, and what a major upgrade. That student center is amazing. That used to be, as Cal may know, and I don't know if Johnny does, that used to be a Wendy's right there. Yeah. That Wendy's was so busy, made $2 million a year back in the 90s. No telling what they would make now. That was 30 years ago. There used to be a Wendy's and a Kinko's right there, and boy, times have changed.
John, before you answer the question about what to get DG, I got a quick question since the student store is inside the student center, the Dowdy student store. How much foot traffic, if you notice, because obviously you're working in the store, and how much foot traffic do you notice just going in there to go to Raising Cane's, being it's the only Raising Cane's besides the one on base at Camp Lejeune in Eastern North Carolina?
There's literally people that have nothing to do with East Carolina that just show up to go to Raising Cane's. And there's the Uber Eats people, and then there's other delivery services that will be parking outside, try to, park out there quickly, run in, get to-go orders for people that have ordered it from all over town. And I think the craziest story is over the summer, we even had two girls drive all the way from Wilmington. They didn't even go to ECU. And they said, well, we saw it on the map and we drove all the way up here to get some Raising Cane's.
Well, it's open to the public. It's not like they can't go in. So.
Yeah. And anyone can go in except for the summer. There's no food open except for Starbucks. So,
I didn't
know.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, we had to redirect them over to Sup Dogs to, have something good to eat while they, drove all the way up here.
No offense to Raising Cane's, but that's a better choice anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, DG, have you had the Sup Crushes, by the way?
I have.
Did you like them?
I did. Yeah. I mean, I'm more of a beer guy, but it's refreshing.
Yeah.
I can drink them too. I'd rather drink whiskey and soda, but like a Dr. Pepper and Jim Beam. But I can do a Sup Crush.
No doubt, John. So back to my question. So what can I get DG? What can we get DG for Christmas, EC wise? That and maybe he'll. If we get it for you, DG, will you wear it on your show?
Heck yeah, man! It's funny. My business partner keeps giving me North Carolina Sports Network logoed stuff. So my wife's complaining that I'm taking up too much space in our walk-in closet with all of my company's gear. So I'd love a little variety. I need like a good gym T-shirt. Just one of those nice. Kind of absorb your sweat T-shirts. I do have purple and gold in my wardrobe because of my son, and he married an ECU girl as well. So there's plenty of purple and gold, but a store like that, I mean, there's almost infinite variety, clothing and otherwise.
So dry fit tees. DG wants dry fit tees, John.
Yeah, we've got so much clearance merchandise right now that just got marked down. There's Adidas, there's Legacy. We even have it's a line called TCG. It's T-shirts that are wicking performance T-shirts that are made out of bamboo, but those were $80 a piece. They just got marked down to $9.99.
Wow!
There you go.
We've also got We've got Adidas hooded sweatshirts. The one I'm wearing right now,
I like
it
that.
was $90. It's on sale for $32.99 right now.
Wow.
That's my
We
price tag.
Yeah, we've got Adidas full zip kind of like track jackets that were $95. They're on sale for $24.99 right
Man.
now.
Have they got
Uh,
the classic Adidas stripes on the sleeve, John?
excuse me?
Have they got the classic Adidas stripes on the sleeves?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
do.
they are.
Nice, very nice.
I like that.
And there's a similar one to this with a same logo on the front, but the whole sweatshirt is black and all the logo is completely white. That one was $90. It's on sale for $24.99 as well right now. But we do have a bunch of Johnny O, Peter Millar. Uh,
Wow.
we've got
That's
Christmas
up right
nutcrackers, ornaments. We've got legacy hats that were $30. They're on sale for $13.99 right now.
Wow.
We also have there's some Apple that's on sale.
You got legacy snapbacks, like with the soft mesh back for $13.99.
We do not. Those are
Oh,
probably going to be just regular 29 or
I
$30.
got a big ass head, and those legacy soft mesh back, the ones with the real soft mesh, are the only
Yeah.
snapbacks that will fit my giant head.
Well, if you ever come to the store or you've been to any of our booths at the stadium, because we do all the in venue sales for all the merchandise also. There's a new hat from New Era. It's called the 970. And I have a big head too, because I know the struggle with trying to get a hat that fits. But this 970 is a full stretch in the front with a soft inlay on the inside of the hat,
Yeah.
but it's a mesh back with a snap back as well. So that's been our number one selling hat at all the games this year. Every time we take them there,
And who did you say it's by?
it's from New Era.
New Era. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
MLB.
Yep. And if I mean every booth we take them to, we sell out and we got to restock. The best selling color in that one is a soft gray with just the classic skull and crossbones on the front, white mesh back, and it has a powder purple New Era logo on the side. So that one we can't keep in, we just keep selling it. But that hat's been phenomenal for this past year.
What is like the besides the hat this time of year? When you get into holidays, what do you sell the most of? Is it shirts? I would imagine probably hoodies and sweatshirts.
Yeah, I mean, I think sweatshirts, another big seller is blankets. And
Yeah.
our holiday season is really weird because we're at the student stores, right? So we're not going to be technically open all the way up to Christmas Day because the student center will shut down starting on the 20th, reopen on the Monday after that, like the 22nd and 23rd will be our last days before Christmas. So selling at the basketball games and at the store is really popular. But yeah, blankets, sweatshirts, a lot of the kids are coming in. You know, my mom sent me in to get a polo for my dad. He wears extra large, that kind of stuff. But all the groups that are coming in right now, we're kind of like pointing them in the direction of the clearance merchandise because we have so much. And then we also got an alert this week from corporate that sends us the information for markdowns. We have a whole nother set of markdowns coming in on December the 18th. More champion, more legacy, more league that's going to get marked down again. So if you guys are near the store or anywhere close and you can make it over, I would swing by. We are open on the weekends right now until the semester's over from 12 to 5 on Saturdays and Sundays.
And if you mentioned Champion, and if you guys got any teenage to early 20s girls in your life, for whatever reason, Champion used to be a reject danky brand that everybody made fun of. And for whatever reason, in the last, I don't know, 5 to 8 years, Champion has become extremely popular, particularly with females between the ages of, say, 15 and 25. And I have no idea why. Can you explain that, John?
I feel the biggest thing right now is vintage. So, you know, like when we were all in college, Champion was about the only brand
Yeah.
around. Russell was around, that kind of stuff. So I feel like they want logos and name brands that their mom and dad wore when they were in college. Because they're also going into their parents' closet and stealing their t-shirts to wear those around as vintage gear, and everyone sees it and they're like, man, where'd you get that shirt? I got it from my dad's closet. That's where.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's weird because it's not just with ECU. Anything champion is really hot right now. It has been for a couple of years. I wish the big gaudy, ugly starter jackets would come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love those.
I'm a night like in the 90s, man. Those starter jackets were to die for.
I remember I used to work at Belk's as a manager as well, and we could not keep those in stock, the starter jackets. They sold like crazy.
Hey, Kyle, let's for our line that we have, let's have like starter like jackets and see if they would sell.
That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk. You guys are run by Barnes and Noble now, if I'm not out of my mind, right, John?
We are the university decided to put the store out for a bid and not have to worry about those expenses anymore. So Barnes and Noble's won the contract, and we're operated by them now, which it's been good. One of the best things that has happened, I don't know if you guys know this, but it doesn't relate to merchandise, but we're really there more for the kids and their school supplies and their
Right.
course materials. We are now doing this program at ECU called First Day Complete that's operated by Barnes and Nobles. They also do it at UNC Charlotte. So ECU students now, they pay for all their books, access codes, course packs, digital books, anything that they need is included in their tuition at $20 per credit hour. So if you're taking 15 credit hours, you're only paying $300. And,
Wow.
and you get all your books, all your course packs, all your access codes. And we have one book on campus that's taught by College of Business. It's called Legal Environment of Business. It's been used for many, many years, but that hardback book by itself costs $300. So if a student's taking that, that's covered. If they got course packs, it's covered. If they got access codes, it's covered. All the access codes will go in to their portal at ECU where they have access to it immediately on the first day of class. So this has been really a great thing for, the students, and especially for ECU, because ECU has a lot of students that actually take advantage of need-based financial aid. I think ECU is one of the highest universities in the state of North Carolina for the number of students that actually take advantage of that and qualify for it.
Yeah, and I like to hear that because some people say our admissions rate's too high. I disagree. I think opportunity is a great thing, and what you speak of speaks to the opportunity that East Carolina gives people. But you're talking about having that program with the books, which is a great thing. But that just reminds me when my wife attended East Carolina. My wife and I have been together since she was in high school. But so when she was attending ECU, one of my favorite times of the year was book buyback
Yeah.
in May, and you take all of it. It does take away from that, taking all your books back in May and pocketing a nice bit of pocket change.
Yeah, and a lot of the parents now will say, "Don't forget to sell your books back." And
God, you got to
most of
remind them.
most of the books now in this program are rental books.
Ah,
So that's the way we can afford to do the program. So once that legal environment book is used for their classes, they just bring it back and turn it in.
that takes away the fun of the book buyback, though.
Yeah, and there's some so they're not locked in. They don't have to do it if they don't want to, so they can opt out of it and then buy their books on their own from wherever they want to get them. And then they can sell those back if they were like books that are just purchase books. But honestly, I've been there since 2003. The buyback now is nowhere near what it used to be. I mean, we'll have buyback open for 2 weeks and we get probably 2 to 5% of the books back that we used to um in the buyback program now, as opposed to like when I first
Yeah.
got.
That's crazy. My wife, that's when she started at ECU was 03.
Yeah.
So that's funny. But yeah, no, the book buyback back in the day used to be awesome. Anybody got any more questions for John about items at the student store right now for Christmas?
Anything for kids? My kids are actually growing at such a rate that maybe there's a. Do you have like a, I don't know, like a hoodie rental kind of thing, or like, because they're growing so fast. You talked about a book rental. I need a clothes rental for my kids are growing so fast. It's nuts.
There's a little bit of children's and youth merchandise that we actually have on clearance right now as well. But we typically don't carry as much youth and children's merchandise because our store is typically geared more towards the students on campus and game day. But the other disadvantage we have is it's can be difficult for like moms or parents to come to the store to shop and to try to find and figure out parking. So I mean, we do we do have t-shirts and hooded
Parking garage.
sweatshirts and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. We do actually have I think it's toddler size ECU cheerleader outfits. I think they were $45 to $50. They're on sale now for $9.99.
Wow.
Will those fit mini labradoodles?
They might. We do have some pet ECU shirts on sale right now on clearance as well.
I got another question for you, John, and then I'll let somebody else talk, and then we'll wrap it up with you. But okay, so you've been there since '03, and I probably asked you this when we had you on before.
Yeah.
You've been there since '03, back at the old location when you had to park and walk 5.5 days to get to the store.
Right.
But it was great because I'm a big boy. I always have been a big boy. And back in the day, you guys used to beat UBE on having 3X, 4X, and 5X. I noticed now since Barnes and Noble took over, you guys don't hardly carry anything bigger than 2X. Is that a Barnes and Noble thing? Can you guys, do they just don't want to carry bigger sizes? Are there no fat students anymore? What about the offensive linemen?
Well,
No,
back
Is it the Wagovia effect?
yeah, back in the day, I was the buyer of all that merchandise.
Well, I love you. I
So,
wish you still were.
so I would hear, input from you and other like Big Al. He would always get on me
Oh, yeah.
about stuff.
You mean Pirate Owl?
Yeah, Pirate Al, that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they would whoever. Hey, I need Richard Allsbrook. He would always get on
Oh
me.
yeah.
Richard, yeah, he's a friend of the show.
Great dude. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get some in. So Russell Athletic would carry all the way up to 4X. Champion when we were getting it. I mean, Adidas when we were getting it from Adidas USA and not the middleman supplier that we get it from now. I think it's called TCL or something.
And their Adidas 4X is big too. So if you wear a 5, you can fit an Adidas 4X.
Yeah, and they don't send us anything bigger than a 2 in Adidas. But the other relationship that happened as soon as ECU signed the contract with Barnes and Nobles, Barnes and Nobles was signing a contract with Fanatics, and now it's called Lids U. So Fanatics and Lids U controls all the apparel and gifts that we get in all the Barnes and Nobles college stores all over the country, including us, UNC Charlotte, UNC Chapel Hills, the Barnes and Noble store. So there's buyers in their corporate office. I think they're up in Indianapolis, where the headquarters is. So they buy stuff and we can give them a little bit of input, but it's really kind of said it's their buck that they're spending this, so they're gonna try to, spend it the best way they possibly can to be safe. But we have been getting in more 3s and 4s in Champion, and
There you
then
go.
they've added Cutter and Buck, and then
Oh, I can't afford that.
well, Cutter's not too bad. Like a basic Cutter polo can be like $60
Oh,
compared
really?
to
Okay.
$158 Johnny O polo. But Cutter also has a house brand called Click, which is polos as well. So the Click polos, they drop down to like $49.99, but they go all the way up to 4X as well, and they send polos and quarter zips.
Nice.
And
Oh man.
so, but
I might have to come check out the quarter zips.
we
Oh,
honestly don't have as much as we used to though in the bigger sizes.
No, you don't. And
I noticed that myself.
you don't. And I used to, like I say, at your old location, preferred it to UBE because of, and nothing against UBE, but preferred it to UBE at the old location because you guys, or even at the new location before Barnes and Noble took it over,
Yeah.
because you guys had more big sizes than UBE, and it's not the case now. And you mentioned Fanatics, and they've even cut back on their online store on bigger sizes. And again, I really do wonder if it's the Wagovi effect. I think there's less and less of us out there. I need to get on the Wagovi.
Hey, I think you need to start a store downtown.
Ozempic, whatever.
You need to start a store downtown Greenville, big and tall, EC.
Look, I've
Yeah.
legitimately thought about, with my background in apparel, I've
Yeah.
legitimately thought about starting if I don't know how hard it would be to get the licenses. DG's a lawyer, maybe he can help me. Um, a big and tall collegiate brand that just get as many collegiate licenses as I can and specialize in nothing but big and tall collegiate clothes. I think it would do well. I'm surprised it hasn't been done yet.
We'll get your checkbook out and write a check to DG, and he'll write the contract up and everything.
There you go, DG. You got me on the lawyer. I'm just going to make DG a partner in the company. I think DG thinks it's a good idea. I can tell.
Equity is a good thing. I've done work for equity instead of salary in the
There
past.
you go. There you go.
Well, John, you said, can you give the hours again? And is there a way that people can get things? One last question I have is give the hours again. And how can people that are watching the show, they may not be anywhere near Greenville, like our buddy Matt Semenza in Connecticut. How can they order from you guys and have it shipped to wherever the person their gift?
Yeah. So our website for ordering is ecu.bncollege.com. And then there's a link up there for gifts and apparel. You just click on that and everything will show up. Now, when you're shopping from that website, the same as you shop from ECU Athletics website, it flips over to Fanatics.
Yep.
So there's a good amount of it that we have in the store that you can get and we'll process immediately once we get the order. But some of it may be coming from the Fanatics warehouses. Then they did take the option away from us where I can do a manual entry just because of the way fraud is going on right now. They just don't want that access or anyone to have that access to key in cards. So I used to be able to do that, but I no longer can. But if they go to that website, or if they have a buddy that's in Greenville, or I've had people in Texas message their buddy or their cousin or someone that lives closer that drove all the way down to the store to buy something that I posted like on my Twitter or on my Instagram. That's another good way to find out because I'll post stuff that the store doesn't post and I'll post stuff that is like on super sale as well. Um, I, and I also post it when I'm working a game, letting people know, hey, I'm gonna have this item at the booth tonight. If you're interested, come by quickly before they all disappear and everything. But the ECU Instagram account is also good. That one is ECU Dowdy, and that's on Instagram. If you follow that, we'll let you guys know whenever our sales are going on and what's happening at the store. And then I guess the one last thing I would like to say, just to let you guys, I don't know if anyone really knows it because we don't really advertise it, but since 2008, Dowdy Student Stores has given back $4 million to the university for scholarships.
That's
um,
awesome.
for the university to use. And that includes currently we're giving back $300,000 every year to the scholarship program. And since 2008, every year 25,000 at minimum was given to athletics for specific athletic scholarships as well.
Can
John,
we?
I do have one more quick question for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
With the bowl game coming up, I know last year with the Military Bowl, there was a lot of people wanted particularly after we beat NC State, wanted the bowl championship merchandise. This year, we'll get our bowl announcements most likely Saturday. Um, do you have any idea how soon, whatever bowl game that is, you guys will get bowl merch in, or will you carry much bowl merch? Will you wait to see if we win it and just carry the championship merch if we win it?
So I feel like if they do send us something, it may be one item or two at the most, because like what I said earlier, we're closed later on during the holiday and people wouldn't even be able to shop unless they were just buying it online. The other thing with the bowl or even championship merchandise, we'll get it in. And if you went over to our clearance rack right now, we'd probably have about, 50, 60, 70 shirts of either bowl, pregame bowl, championship bowl, or conference champion baseball, or, any championship shirt or regional shirt like that just sitting there that hasn't been sold. To me, sometimes it can be a tough sell, but I know my store manager did say the other day he's already been in contact with the buyers about bowl merchandise, and they are going to get us some. And I hope it does come in sooner sooner than later before we close. And if we do get some in, I'll post it on my Twitter account, and then the store will probably post it as well.
All right, we'll try to remember that and post it on our social media. Kyle is our merchandising guy, right, Kyle?
I guess I got the most background on anybody in the show. Yeah.
That wasn't a slight. That's actually a true.
Yeah, no, I just don't do it anymore. But yeah, I have that background. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, John, thank you so much. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I appreciate all that you do for us, and certainly with EC with the student stores. And we'll talk to you again real soon.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, and go Pirates.
All right. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. All right, John is a great guy, and obviously with everything going on with, we could talk merchandise, but DG, we wanted to have you on. First of all, there's a big game on Saturday night to talk about, and I know that Pirate fans, I promise, we'll be talking about that. But what do you think about the Duke Virginia game? And I've got some other questions with that, but we'll get to bowl games and your thoughts. But I just wanted to, while we had you on, your thoughts on Duke Virginia.
Yeah, a couple quick things. Number one, these two teams, a lot of these conference championship games are rematches from the regular season. And there's so many games, it's easy to forget the various results. But Virginia not only beat Duke during the regular season, they went to Durham and absolutely gobsmacked the Blue Devils. The final score was a little misleading. It was 34-17. But that game was UVA 31, Duke 3 at the end of the third quarter. I mean, Virginia ran on Duke, threw on Duke, and probably slowed down the Duke quarterback, who's really good, Darian Mensah, more than any other Duke opponent all season long. So, we could debate how much weight you put on what happened the first time, but it was not close. The Cavaliers destroyed the Blue Devils, and obviously it's 10-2 Virginia against 7-5 Duke, and UVA you'd expect is going to be a favorite and is the favorite in Charlotte on Saturday night. I'll be down there for that game. The other thing to remember, I guess, in the bigger picture is a lot of people think of the 5 automatic bids for the college.
I was about to bring that up.
Yeah, it's often misstated as the Power 4 champions plus the best champion from the group of 6. It's actually simply the 5 highest ranked conference champions. It's not it's not what you often hear about, the Power 4 are automatically in. So obviously if UVA wins this game, then the Cavaliers are 11-2 and an ACC champion, which by rule, being a conference champion carries weight. And they're in. There's no debate. The Cavaliers would be in. But if Duke, remember, is 7-5.
Yep.
They had a really good conference record, 6-2, and they won all those tiebreakers. But if you win to get to 8-5, you're going to be ranked behind the American Conference champion, right? So we know the Big Ten champion gets in. We know the Big 12 champion gets in. We know the SEC champion gets in. And I think we know that the American champion is going to get in, regardless of which team it is, right? I mean, heck, Tulane beat Duke head-to-head. So those are the first 4. And the debate would be 8-5 Duke or 12-1 James Madison if JMU wins the Sun Belt. And I don't think that's a no-brainer in either direction, but it would be the most embarrassing moment of the playoff era for the ACC if its conference champion was left out of the 12-team bracket. I mean, it's one thing to be left out of a 4-team bracket. That happened to everybody eventually. To be left out of a 12-team bracket would be just the modern low point of ACC football if it unfolds that way.
DJ, I'm going to disagree. I think it is a no-brainer. I think JMU in the top 25 now in the playoff poll for a reason. They wouldn't put them in the top 25 now if on the playoff rankings if they weren't going to give them that spot if they win their championship.
But here's why it's not a no-brainer. What's JMU's best victory right now?
I know what you're saying.
It's not very good.
It's not Washington State.
Washington State's a really mediocre
they're already
team,
in the
and
top
that's probably
25.
their best win. Now, obviously, they'd have to beat Troy just to become the Sun Belt champion, and that would immediately become their best win. And you're right; they're number 25 in the rankings, and a 7-5 Duke team is not anywhere near the rankings.
Exactly, it's the 5 highest-ranked conference champions. How would they vote? How would they pass them?
Well, the committee has said that teams can leapfrog each other they've even said that teams that are idle this weekend can leapfrog each other. Wow. But certainly Duke in our hypothetical would be adding a quality win over UVA, and Duke has a lot more quality. Duke went to Clemson and beat Clemson. I know the Tigers aren't great, but they're a hell of a lot better than Washington State, right? So it would be an interesting debate. I'll put it that way. And that's why I bring it up. There will be people in the room saying it's a no-brainer in favor of JMU, but there are going to be people in the room saying, hey, Duke has 5 good wins and JMU barely has 1. And that gets back into the debate we often have. What are your best wins and how many? And what are your worst losses, et cetera? But there'll be people pounding the table for Duke over JMU, and there would be others saying 12-1 JMU, have to take that over 8-5 Duke. It would be a fascinating twist if it unfolds that way.
Duke also lost to UConn, who lost to Rice and barely beat Florida
UConn's
Atlantic.
9-3.
Yeah, but UConn they lost to Rice, barely beat Florida Atlantic. I play Duke tomorrow. They want to line up and play. Let's play them in a bowl game.
All right. How about this? John Wright says, former pitcher of the Pirates, DG, in the Gary Overton era, says JMU is no guarantee. What happens if JMU loses and Duke wins? Does ACC get a team in still? Or if Duke wins and JMU wins, does JMU and Tulane, North Texas get in?
Yeah, I could answer that because I've been studying this, and I was going to bring this up. Thanks, John, for that question. Yeah, I feel like Duke, they have I don't think they have a shot because
I just said that. But go ahead.
Well, no, Kyle, I was going to get to why I think that. Go ahead. You go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'll wait till you finish, and then I'll get back.
I was finished. That was directed more John than you.
Okay. All right. So my understanding is if the conference winner from the group of 6 is ranked higher than the conference winner from any other conference, then they get in. They get in automatically. But that doesn't take the group of 6 automatic bid. That bid is still out there, which would have to go to, like John said, it would have to be JMU because you're not going to give it to the loser of North Texas and Tulane because they would drop.
Right.
I mean, they're both ahead of JMU, but they would drop and JMU would jump them, and it would be JMU and North Texas or Tulane in, and Duke would be out because you still have Miami. You still have Miami that's trying to get in.
The debate would be what we were talking about earlier: 12-1 JMU versus 8-5 Duke. And the people in favor of Duke would talk about a win over 8-4 Wake Forest, which is a heck of a lot better than a win over Washington State. And they would talk about a win at Clemson, which is a lot better than a win over Washington State. And they would talk about a win against NC State, which is a lot better than a win over Washington State. And they would talk about a win over 10-2 Virginia, which is a lot better than a win over Washington State. But again, 12-1 has a glow to it. A lot more glow than 8-5. That's why it's a debate. I just don't think it's quite the no-brainer you guys are describing it as.
Well, I don't think Duke would be involved in it, though. is my point. I think Duke would have to be involved with getting the 12 seed. I mean, the 11 seed.
JR, I'm confused at what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah,
Kyle.
no, I understand what you're saying. But
I don't.
5
I'm
conference
lost.
champions will get automatic bids.
Right.
Correct.
And the debate for the 5th one would be James Madison and Duke in this hypothetical. If UVA beats Duke, James Madison is out.
So what are you saying, JR? I'm confused.
I'm saying that I think it plays out differently. I think that it's the 5 conference winners with the highest ranking.
Correct.
So what I'm saying is, if North Texas wins, let's just say they win, or let's say Tulane wins, it doesn't matter. The winner of that game, I mean, they're going to be the 5th conference champion.
They'll be the 4th.
The 4th.
No, I mean, why are they going to be the 4th?
They'll be the 4th highest ranked conference champion.
Okay, but what I'm saying is there's five conference champions that are going to get automatic bids. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so one of them is not guaranteed to the group of 6 unless that group of 6 winner has a higher ranking than the conference winner, which in this case would be Duke. And Duke won't even be ranked, or if they are ranked, so Duke would have to jump, not JMU, they would have to jump the winner of, unless I am absolutely crazy.
JR, you're confusing the hell out of me. I don't know what you're talking about.
We all agree that the American Conference champion is going to get in.
All right, so the 5 highest ranked conference champions get in, JR. So we got 9 conferences currently. So the 5 highest ranked conference champions get in, regardless if you're Power 4 or Group of 5.
Yes,
right. I agree.
So all right, so SEC champion in, Big 10 champion in, Big 12 champion in, American champion in.
That's 4. So there's going to be one more.
So the 5th spot will either go to the ACC if Virginia wins, or if Duke wins and JMU wins, it'll either go to JMU or Duke. I think most likely JMU, because I don't think Duke will leapfrog them. So are you saying something different?
Yeah, I think I think that I'm right on this too. I really do.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
I'm not sure what you're saying either, JR.
Okay, well let's move on to something else, and we'll talk about it after the show, Kyle. But I'm saying
five conference champions, 7 at-large invitations. The committee handles the at-large, and the committee obviously handles the rankings. But it feels like we're almost all saying the same thing.
Yeah, there's something in translation that we're missing that JR is saying, and I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to try one more time, but I'm going to do it quickly because I don't want to waste. David's already been really patient with that student store because I know that, you were very patient. You probably didn't have a lot of interest in that, but you hung in there, so I don't want to hold you up anymore.
Enjoying this. I think DG's a lawyer, so I promise you he's trying.
Yeah. That's my luck.
I'm
to
trying
have an
to
argument with the
understand
lawyer.
what JR's saying that's different than what we're saying.
Yep.
Okay. Let's go back to the 5 conference champions. Okay, at this point, it's SEC, they're in. Big
Correct.
12, they're in. The Big 10, they're in.
Yeah.
Okay, that's 3, and then the 4th one would be the American winner of North Texas and Tulane. That's the 4th one.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so they would get. Am I wrong in saying they would get the 11th seed because the 11th seed is reserved for the conference winner? That's who gets the 11th seed.
Right.
Am I wrong about that?
Are you talking about seeding purposes?
Yeah. Well, there's only 12 teams, Kyle. So that's how I want to break it down. The 10 are going to be the top 10 ranked teams.
Right. So in other words, Johnny, we're not saying. I think the confusion is we're not saying that Tulane or North Texas will be the 4th seed. What we're saying is they will automatically get in the playoff as one of the 12 teams.
Yeah, but we only have 12 seeds.
JR, if you're talking exclusively about seeding, that is definitely different than what the rest of us have been talking about.
Yeah, we're not talking about
but you can't make the playoff unless you're seeded in the top 12.
Right.
No, yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Wait,
it doesn't matter if you're ranking in the top 12. It's the 5 highest ranked conference.
I'm saying, Kyle,
they don't take the top 12 teams in the ranking.
No, they take the top 10. and then the 11 seeds reserved for the final conference champion, whoever that may be, the fourth conference champion, and then the number 12 seeds reserved for the group of 6 winner. So just because a group of 6 team qualifies for the number 11 seed doesn't mean that they lose their number 12 seed. And I know I'm right about this. I'm convinced I am.
Yes, 2 group of 5 schools will can and will most likely make the college football playoff in the scenario that JMU wins and Duke wins.
Okay, so Duke beats Virginia. Actually, Duke's eliminated. They have no shot at getting in.
Yeah, that's what
they
we've
don't.
been saying.
No, you're saying that they have to beat out JMU.
It's not true. What you're saying is not true. I mean, Jim Phillips, the ACC commissioner, was out there just today, literally, saying that if Duke beats Virginia, he believes that its resume would be better than the other candidates for the 5th and final conference champion slot. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can promise you Duke is not eliminated if Duke beats Virginia.
There's no guarantee, JR. There's no guarantee that JMU would get the spot, but Duke could leapfrog them in the top 25 in the college football playoff top 25. If Duke were to leapfrog them, because JMU's 25, let's say they beat Troy by 1 point.
Okay, I'm getting a text from somebody that says that they agree with me, and this person I trust. So I don't know. We could both be wrong.
But agree with you on what? What are
that Duke and JMU? There's going to be no situation where those two are being compared. Duke would have to be compared to Notre Dame, Miami, BYU. If BYU loses to Texas Tech,
no,
if BYU
that's not true at all.
You're wrong. JR, the committee gets in a room. And they have a list of the conference champions picture it on one whiteboard. They list all the conference champions. They have to rate them from top to bottom, and the top 5 from that list of conference champions gets in.
Out of the 9 conferences, it's that simple.
And on this other whiteboard, they have all the non-conference champions, and they rank them, and only the top 7 from that whiteboard get in. It's a 12-team playoff, 5 conference champions, whoever they rank the highest, 7 at large, whichever 7 they rank the highest. So I'm not sure if I'm missing something, but I can promise
you know what the problem is. DG.
I can promise you that Duke will be discussed as the ACC champion if they beat Virginia as a candidate. I can't promise you where they'll be ranked. But I can promise you Duke would be discussed in that group of conference champions.
I think the problem here is that I am probably incorrect. And you know, I'm not so stubborn to say that, you know, I could be wrong. I mean, I was.
JR, you're very analytical and your stats, and I think you're overthinking it. It really is this.
I may be, Kyle. I may be, because I've been wrong on this, and I've had conversations.
Is this simple. It's the 5 highest ranked conference champions. It's that simple. So if Duke beats UVA by 3 touchdowns, and JMU beats Troy by 1 point, Duke in that scenario may leapfrog JMU in the college football playoff top 25.
Yep.
And then I'm not going to make y'all go into this anymore.
And let me say something else too, as DG knows, because he's an expert certainly on the NCAA basketball tournament. Let me tell you something. If you don't think there's going to be politicking worse than Congress and the General Assembly in North Carolina and Raleigh or any other General Assembly, let me tell you something. Just because of what we're talking about on paper doesn't mean jack. And I'll tell you why. Because there's a lot of teams that we could see with the different scenarios that could get screwed. And I don't know any other word that I can say. And if Duke gets in and if Duke gets in and JMU at 12-1 gets left out, you know, there's always.
I almost hope UVA wins, and here's why. I think if JMU and North Texas or Tulane both get in, they're going to change the wording on the college football playoff contract tomorrow. Like, as soon as that happens, starting next year, it will be the Power 4 champions plus one team from the group of 6. It will be worded that way instead of the 5 highest ranked conference champions.
Yeah, and keep in mind, they're already debating that stuff right now. You know, the
Yeah.
SEC wants X number of guaranteed bids, and the Big Ten wants X number of guaranteed bids, and the
If they
ACC
go to
and the Big
24,
12. It's getting interesting. I mean, the playoff might get bigger. They might change the eligibility rules, but at least for this year, I mean, these games are going to be played, and there might be very little debate at all, depending on who wins. Right.
Hey, David, why does the ACC do this to themselves? Why don't they adapt the Americans' position of highest rank, for the tiebreaker? And that would eliminate Duke even being in this conversation. And I'm not
great question.
I'm not against Duke.
Yeah, I'm not against Duke either. I mean, I root for good stories in our state, and our state doesn't have a lot of great football stories this year. You know, ECU was a good story. Wake Forest was a good story. Duke getting to the ACC title game is a good story. But, you know, I think if you were in the room debating how the tiebreaker process works, I don't think anybody envisioned this scenario.
Put Matter Demon's comment up there, Dave.
The more you thought about the possibility of this scenario, of course, Miami went 6-2 in the ACC. Of course, it makes sense for the ACC to have Miami playing UVA instead of Duke playing UVA.
That's probably the answer to the whole debate.
Either
right
Miami
there.
or Virginia, the winner would have gotten in.
Yeah,
period.
Absolutely, and especially since they play an unbalanced schedule. You know, there's 17 teams, and hardly anybody plays each other consistently.
It's a major misstep. I saw a major national writer actually write that they should change the rules midstream because they messed up by creating their convoluted tiebreaker system. That I'm against. I mean, you can't have teams playing for 4 months and then change the rules about who gets in at the last minute just because you screwed up with how you created your tiebreaker system. That I would be against, but I would be in favor of changing for future years the tiebreaker system because the ACC is shooting itself in the foot by not having Miami. Again, if Miami was lower, that'd be one thing. Miami tied Duke in the standings. And if you adopted the American approach, as you're saying, JR, the result would have been Virginia, 10-2 Virginia against 10-2 Miami. That's a decent looking championship game instead of what we do have, a 7-5 Duke team, possibly throwing a wrench into things if they can upset Virginia on Saturday night. Again, Virginia's the better team, but Duke's offense is really good, and Duke has a legitimate chance to win that game. To be candid, I don't think either Duke or UVA in the college football playoff, just to be blunt, as a guy who covers the ACC as closely as anyone on planet Earth, neither Duke nor UVA would be a dangerous team in the 12-team college football playoff. I'm telling you, I'd wait to see the matchup to confirm what I'm about to say. But my bet is that either one would get whacked in that opening round of the college football playoff. And again, I'll wait to see who the opponent is. I'll wait to see whether it's Duke or UVA or whatever, or maybe the disaster scenario we described for the ACC where they don't have anybody in. Miami would have the best chance to compete among the 17 ACC teams by 1,000 miles. But Miami lost twice to conference teams, and Miami lost the tiebreaker. So the Hurricanes may get left out entirely because it looks like they're going to get squeezed out of that at-large conversation too.
Do you think, and two more things, and then we'll move on to the ECU before some of our viewers and listeners kill us. But one, if that scenario plays out, Duke beats UVA, JMU gets the spot over Duke, do you think that then changes Miami's likelihood of getting in as an at-large? Because I think it does.
But you mean for political reasons where the committee wouldn't want to give the ACC sort of a double slap to the face?
Correct.
It's possible, but again, there's so many hypotheticals, right? Like if Texas Tech whacks BYU,
good
then
point.
Miami, moves up a notch. I guess there's a chance that if Georgia just annihilated Alabama, the Tide would fall by the wayside as a 3-loss team. And that would move Miami up a notch. And then you'd have maybe Miami right next to Notre Dame, which is the team they beat head-to-head, so maybe they squeeze in. It's really hard to say without knowing how I do believe there's a real possibility the ACC gets left out of this bracket entirely.
Yeah.
But only if Duke beats UVA.
I agree.
But yeah,
BYU,
it would
I'm
be
sure
a double
that
slap to the face if that happens.
it would. I'm sure Miami's rooting for Texas Tech to take care of BYU. Because if BYU wins that game, then it's going to be really difficult for Miami to get in.
Yeah. I mean, heck, we know both Ohio State and Indiana are in from the Big Ten, right? No matter what happens in that game, they're both in. We know Texas Tech's getting in. We know Georgia's getting in.
Texas A&M's a lock because they don't have to play in a conference championship game.
Right, and they're 11-1. So yeah, Jim Phillips, the ACC commissioner, is not sleeping very well, man. He was lobbying for Miami today for an at-large spot. He was lobbying about that Duke hypothetical, and that's because he knows that both would end up being close calls if again there's so many variables, but if the game results fall a certain way on Friday and Saturday.
You look at Texas Tech, and one of the most talented teams in college football this year. But BYU, with what happened with Kalani Sitake this week, where he came up from the Penn State job, and then everybody kind of rallied around him. A lot of maybe unity right now for the Cougars, so that can be dangerous playing Texas Tech this week. I think Texas Tech's a much more talented football team, but that's an interesting game. All this stuff affects each other so much, and I think it's great for college football. This is one of the few things, if we didn't have the damn transfer portal and NIL and everything else, the current format where all these games matter, the Sun Belt Championship game matters. The American Conference Championship game matters. That's good for college football.
I agree.
If we didn't have all these other stupid things to go along with it. I told somebody the other day, if this format was put in place and NIL and the portal never became a thing, ECU would literally be able to tell high school recruits, you have a better chance of making the playoffs at East Carolina by winning the American because it's more likely than you do at NC State by winning the ACC because it's less likely. But unfortunately, because of NIL and all that, that we can't say that. Well, we could say it, but it's not going to matter because at the end of the day, money rules. But anyway, speaking of ECU, hey, that's what the show's supposed to be about. It's National Signing Day today. JR, or Dave, I don't know if you're back with us, Dave Richmond. Do you guys have our list of signees? And do we want to start talking about the guys we've signed?
I mean,
we were going to do that after Bowl Talk with DG.
Oh, Bowl Talk. I'm sorry. All right. I didn't look at the show format. Sorry, DG.
No problem.
Bowl Talk. So
that's a guessing game, man. I don't know how much enlightenment we can give on Bowl Talk. It's just a guessing game. There's a lot of variables in play, and I don't have inside information where any of our in-state teams are going to go.
Do you think, last year NC State played East Carolina in the Military Bowl, so you can pretty much rule out, we already played them this year, you can pretty much rule out any rematches with NC State. Do you, last year it was rumored that North Carolina opposed playing us, and that's kind of how we didn't end up in Fenway. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but obviously they're not in a bowl this year. Do you think Wake Forest or Duke, either one, I'm assuming not, but would have a problem with playing East Carolina in a bowl game?
I can't think of a good reason, no. How this stuff works, yes, you want to know what the matchup is going to be. But, none of in the lower tier bowls, it's not like these schools are making money. So it's where do we want to go? What would be a fun place to go? These coaches talk to each other, and some bowls have better reputations than other bowls. And you only have a little bit of wiggle room yourself, right? To a degree, the ACC is telling Duke and Wake, hey, you're going to end up either at A or at B. What's your input? And we can't guarantee you're going to get what you want, right? So that's what I mean by so many variables. But the answer to your question is I don't think Duke or Wake would have a problem with it. And I don't think, every bowl is different. Like every bowl is going to get, almost every bowl gets 1 million plus viewers, right? Regardless almost of the matchup. Yeah. Some bowls are trying harder to put fannies in the seats. And, Duke's Mayo Bowl in Charlotte has a track record both with its early season game and with its bowl game of trying to get folks who would be within a reasonable drive of Bank of America Stadium. So that puts a focus, on teams that are located in the Mid-Atlantic. And who knows, maybe ECU is going to be in the mix for that one, and maybe an ACC opponent could be Duke or Wake on the other side.
Yeah, and you also have common tie-ins. Fenway Bowl is the American against the ACC. The Gasparilla Bowl is the ACC against a team from the American, the Sun Belt, or the MAC. The Military Bowl, which is unlikely because we were there last year, is also against the ACC. So there's several chances where East Carolina could be taking on an ACC team in a bowl game. If you had your druthers, is there an ACC school that you think would be a fun matchup for East Carolina? If you could just any ACC school against East Carolina in a bowl game, what would you pick?
That's a great question. One fun thing would be ECU Wake, just from like a football perspective. Wake Forest played lights out defense this season. I mean, ridiculously good defense. They're only an 8-4 team, but to get to 8-4, they're not very good on offense at Wake. They were not great on special teams at Wake. They won with 80% defense and just being opportunistic in other ways and winning their close games. So it would be fun to see Caton Hauser and an offense that evolved really nicely in both the run and passing games with a really creative offensive coordinator and Coach Baker, going against an unbelievably well-coached, overachieving Wake Forest defense. That would be fun for me to see kind of in an X and O way. And if Virginia beats Duke in Virginia beats Duke in the ACC title game, I think the Blue Devils could be a fun matchup because Darian Mensah and the Blue Devils offense, a lot of fun to watch. They can run it some. They can throw it all over the place. Mensah is one of the better guys in all of college football when it comes to NFL caliber downfield throws. Duke asks him to do a job description much closer to what NFL teams ask their quarterbacks to do, and much less like what most college teams ask their quarterbacks to do. So the Duke challenge going against a capable and well-coached ECU defense would be fun to watch. And Duke's defense is not very good this year. So Caton Hauser in that same group I described, trying to tear up the Blue Devils defense, that I think that would just be fun to watch football if it came to that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would look forward to that matchup. And I'm trying to figure out here, guys talking about the Duke's Mayo Bowl, I thought that had switched to ACC versus Big Ten, but it may still be ACC versus SEC. And if it is, I don't know if the SEC with all their playoff teams and Kentucky not getting bowl eligible, Mississippi State not getting bowl eligible, Arkansas not getting bowl eligible.
Right.
If South Carolina not getting bowl eligible, they might not be able to fill that spot. So it is possible if some trades can be made that you could see East Carolina in that bowl game if it is still ACC versus SEC, which I'm going to confirm here momentarily.
Yeah, and I keep seeing non-SEC teams listed there against an ACC opponent. So you're right. These affiliations do change fairly regularly, but I think the Duke's Mayo Bowl is a possibility for a non-SEC team.
All right, I got it. I got it, boys. I got it. In even years is ACC versus Big Ten, and odd years is ACC versus SEC. So this year is ACC versus SEC.
So it is SEC this year.
Yes, yeah. And I knew I saw a Big Ten school play in that bowl game last year. I didn't think I was crazy. So it is SEC. So you know what? That'd be a nice surprise if
that would be fun.
Yeah, you that place would be packed for East Carolina against any ACC school in Charlotte.
And DG, by the way, Kenny wants to ask you a question. I'll put it up there. He's asking, Dave, have you heard much about John David Baker, East Carolina's offensive coordinator, to Virginia Tech, and also rumors are going on that he'll take Caden Hauser with him.
I have not really been on the Virginia Tech trail since they hired James Franklin, just to be honest. There's so much going on with the ACC SEC basketball challenge, with the coaching carousel. I can't say that I have followed the assistant coaching carousel quite as closely, just to be honest about it. But Coach Baker is certainly well respected around college football. And Caden Hauser's a proven veteran quarterback. I mean, logically it makes sense, but I do not have any information, specifically about that, either to confirm it or deny it.
Yeah, that's being talked about an awful lot on the ECU message boards and the Virginia Tech message boards. I could see John David Baker going and Caden Hauser saying, I don't think a lot of people think that Hauser will stay if Baker leaves. They think they think he will take him with him. But Hauser loves ECU, and if what we're hearing is right, and we can't get confirmation on which university would be more transparent with our NIL money or revenue sharing money, I guess it's called now. But we're told it's around $4 million for football for this upcoming year, and I've also heard that we're willing to spend $1 million on Caden Hauser. So if we will go up to $1 million on Caden Hauser, if an SEC, or if a Virginia Tech wants him, they can pay him more. Maybe 1.5, closer to $2 million. Who knows? I don't know what their budget is, but more than ours. So if they can certainly outbid us. But if you're happy here, you can get to the NFL just as easy from Greenville as you can Blacksburg. And with all the head coaches that have left the American this year, if Harold can keep this thing together, the Pirates have a legitimate shot at the playoffs next year and being the Group of 5 representative, if you will, or Group of 6 at that point representative. I think we are likely to lose John David Baker. I'm not sure Hauser follows him. I really do think he loves it here, and if we're truly going to be willing to offer him $1 million, he may stay.
I did see that James Franklin brought one or more of his quarterback recruits from Penn State to Virginia Tech. Those guys flipped. Now, those are just high school prospects, obviously, and very rarely these days are you plugging in a true freshman at the quarterback position. But he's brought a few of his Penn State commitments with him to Virginia Tech. But yeah, you laid out the scenario. A lot of these guys, you'd be naive to think that they're not looking at the money, but money is not the only thing. If somebody's offering you twice as much money, you probably take it. If it's somewhat similar money and you like where you are, maybe you stay. It's kind of like coaches. Coaches don't leave just because somebody offers them 10% more money. I mean, Ole Miss would have matched whatever LSU is willing to pay Lane Kiffin. There are things beyond money that come into these conversations for both players and coaches, and that's what makes it harder to predict.
Yeah, Kiffin's a whole nother animal. Good God, he's a narcissist to the max. I saw a thing where he had a golden retriever, and he took a lot of pictures with it, and basically it was for show. He left the dog in Oxford with the handler. So I mean, it's just not a lot of respect for Kiffin, or as I prefer to call him, Baby Kiff. And he's somebody that would, if I had to be around him, probably much in person, would make me throw up. Some people might say the same about me, though. So that's okay. But I can't stand him, and I hope he fails miserably at LSU. And
well, we know that he can be fired on the tarmac. So
yeah, I did. Picking at the tarmac, I thought that was the goofiest thing ever. Even though I hate Kiffin, the Ole Miss fans standing at the runway to boo him as he leaves, like he gives a damn. I mean, why would you waste your time doing that? Hey, let's go to the airport and boo somebody.
I'm with you on that, man. I mean, it's understandable when fans are upset that somebody leaves, but those same fans make decisions in their own lives about a better opportunity here or there. It's extra hard to take if a coach promises that he's staying somewhere and then, looks you in the eye, says I'm staying, and then he leaves. That's harder to take. Low lifes like Tommy Tuberville became infamous for just lying to your face and expecting you to just take it. Kiffin's never struck me that way. I mean, he's a wanderer, but I'm not sure he's ever claimed to be anything other than a wanderer. So I thought that hate on the tarmac was a little bit over the top too.
I just thought it was just stupid because he doesn't care. I mean, he
definitely
doesn't. I
doesn't
mean,
care.
you're giving him what he wants. Kiffin wants attention. You're giving him exactly what he wants. The best way to handle somebody like Kiffin is say, "Well, bye. We'll win without you." The AD handled it perfectly. He promoted the DC, said, "Get out of here now. We got a championship to win." That's the way I would have handled it too if I was him. But
there are not a lot of coaching departures other than retirements that are well received by fans. As a general rule, there are not a lot of smooth exits.
No, but I've never felt the need to boo someone on a tarmac.
Yeah.
Just because, again, I mean, what does that accomplish?
I'm trying to think. In our state, when somebody left for another job, you know, they were still they were still loved in the moment. I mean, I remember Carolina fans and Carolina players screaming about Mac Brown going to Texas in the 1990s.
It was a coordinator, but Lincoln Riley, when he left East Carolina to go to Oklahoma, that was the situation where most fans said, "Good for you, Lincoln."
Right, but that's clearly a promotion. So most fans are going to give you the benefit of the doubt there. It's clear to me that the Texas football job is a lot better than the Carolina football job, but that didn't mean those fans and players gave Mac Brown any benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, then they welcomed him back several years later and ran him off again, and now look where they are.
Yeah. Hey, DG, I did have a quick question on that with Chapel Bill. How much longer will he stay? Do you think one more season? I mean, I just don't see that working out. I never thought it would work, and not a fan of his, but didn't think it would work in Chapel Hill.
Well, you know, people were asking a month or two ago about whether he was going to get fired. I told them then, I'll tell them again now. The answer to that is no. It would cost $30 million to fire Bill Belichick. $20 million for Bill and $10 million for others that have guarantees in their deals. So that ain't going to happen. Bill Belichick could leave at any time. I don't think he's planning to do that. So there's going to be a year two unless something absolutely crazy happens. He just signed a high school recruiting class that some ranked in the top 15 in the nation. I don't think he's going to go as portal heavy this year. The Tar Heels have a lot of portal money already wrapped up in some of their current guys and some of their incoming high school players, the revenue sharing money. So, yeah, there's going to be a year two, and then it's just a matter of how much better do they get. I don't think they're going to be worse than 4-8, but it's hard to even make that statement because, you know, roster turnover is so chaotic these days. We got to at least wait until the portal is over. And even no matter how well he just recruited this high school senior class, not a long list of true freshmen are really ready to be great players in college. There are exceptions. But when you look at the All-American Conference football team, the All-ACC football team, you see a ton of fourth-year juniors, fifth-year seniors, sixth-year seniors, 23-year-olds, 22-year-olds, the occasional 24-year-old. You can be talented as an incoming freshman, but most guys aren't ready to start. I'll put it that way. Some never end up able to start at their first choice out of high school. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But, yeah, a year from now at this time, who knows what this picture looks like. But as long as the Tar Heels get better, Bill Belichick's going to get the benefit of the doubt because, remember, some of the people that went out of their lane to try to hire Bill Belichick, remember stepping on UNC's athletic director, Bubba Cunningham, during that search process. Some of those same very, very wealthy, powerful people still believe that their choice is going to work out with more time. And it's not like they're no longer influential people. They were influential enough to be centrally involved in the hiring of Bill Belichick. They're still powerful enough to be influential on how Belichick's tenure is treated. If he had a second straight faceplant, you know, then all bets are off because that buyout number would be half as much a year from now. And whereas Carolina doesn't want any part of a $30 million buyout, as much as we all know $15 million is a lot of money, it is significantly more manageable for a school like UNC.
DG, another skeptical from North
I have
Carolina. Yeah, one of us got lag, brother. Go ahead, then I'll come back.
Okay, I had an observation about Bill Belichick and his recruiting habits. Okay, so from 2022, 2024, that's 3 seasons. 28 of Carolina's 80 recruits were from the state of North Carolina, including 13 with a 90 plus rating. Okay, since he's been there 2 years, 9 of the 68 recruits are from the state of North Carolina, which is 13%. Before him, they were averaging 35%, and only 3 of them are rated 90 plus. So he just doesn't see the value in North Carolina. And other teams are taking advantage of it, which I'll talk about later.
Yeah, I mean, heck, I've been covering this stuff for 39 years, and the number of years where those top prospects sign with out-of-state programs far outweighs the number of years where a UNC or an NC State or somebody else keeps a high percentage of those top prospects at home. I think Bill Belichick and his general manager, Mike Lombardi, certainly will look at every in-state player, but if their favorite quarterback is from Georgia or they have guys from other really powerful, the best, the most productive high school pipelines in all of America are 4 states: California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Nobody else is even close. It's those 4 states. And it's not just because they're very populous states and they're warmer states. There's also a passion for high school football there and better competition, which results in better college prospects. North Carolina is somewhere on that next tier. It's a pretty good football state, and it's become a lot better football state in over those 4 decades that I've been covering it. Back when Mac Brown was building the Tar Heels into a national top 10 team back in the 1990s, 2 straight years he finished in the top 10, which doesn't happen in our state hardly ever at the FBS level. He kept signing highly regarded in-state players, and then they would be beaten out time after time. Not every one, but the theme was the top players from Florida and Georgia and Pennsylvania and New Jersey and Alabama and Louisiana and Texas and these other places where, frankly, back then the high school football culture was just more competitive and they were just better coached, better prepared for college. And the reputation of North Carolina high school football was not great back then. It has gotten better. Believe it or not, our state is now 5th in terms of high school products playing right now in the National Football League. It is 5th behind those 4 superpower states I just mentioned: California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. So that shows how far we have come. But if Belichick and his guy, if their favorite person at certain position is out of state, they don't seem to care about that. Today, they did sign a lot of highly regarded and highly ranked out-of-state players, but they did not sign a lot of the top-ranked in-state prospects. And I imagine, they'll be asked to explain their logic on that at some point. But we all know no coach in our state wants to badmouth the quality of high school football here, and no one is ever going to say that out loud, even if they think it.
What's Bryce Baker doing?
Sitting the bench.
Yeah, I mean, that was the prize recruit last season.
He was not even the 3rd string quarterback this year.
I figured they redshirted him. I'm sorry, Kyle.
DG, we'll get back to recruiting, talk about the East Carolina class here in a second, but I want to get back to coaching just for a second. The Penn State job, again, is something that whole situation intrigues me, and a name that's come up, but I think would come up more if they beat UVA, and particularly if they somehow made it in the playoffs. Do you think if Duke beats UVA, Manny Diaz ends up being Penn State's top target with his pass there?
That was a major question months ago. And because Duke kind of settled back to 7-5, some of that conversation went away. But Manny Diaz was regarded as one of the nation's best defensive coordinators during his, I think it was 2 seasons with the Nittany Lions, right before taking the Duke job. So he knows the people there. He's incredibly well respected there. He just won 9 games at Duke last year, which I think is, the 2nd or 3rd highest win total in the history of Duke football. He might get to 8 wins, probably will get to 8 wins. Maybe it'll be in a bowl game if they don't beat UVA. But eight wins after 9 wins at Duke is kind of like, 9 wins after 11 wins at another school. That's just the nature of it. And Penn State knows that. And let's face it, Penn State, as we speak, risks being, as that coaching carousel continues to spin, and, LSU got its guy in Lane Kiffin for better or for worse, and Florida Gators got their guy in John Summerall for better or for worse, and other dominoes have fallen, James Franklin to Virginia Tech, et cetera. The BYU coach, Sataki, just turned down Penn State most recently. Matt Rule of Nebraska, one of his best friends in the world, is the Penn State athletic director. And you can argue about how good Matt Rule's been at Nebraska, but he just signed a long extension, I believe, with the Cornhuskers. So I don't know, maybe there's a secret. They probably haven't even released that contract yet. Maybe there's an out to Penn State because of his friendship there. Who knows? But I guess the answer is yes. Manny Diaz would be considered, should be considered. I think he's a heck of a coach. I really do. If they schedule down in football the way Duke usually schedules down in the non-conference part of the slate, you're not dealing with an Illinois team that was in the top 25 at the time. You're not dealing with a really good Tulane team that may end up winning the American Conference. Duke's 7-5 would be 9-3 if they replace those two non-conference opponents with somebody a lot more manageable and a lot more beatable. So, these athletic directors know that 9 wins and 8 wins at Duke, it translates to more wins in other places, because Duke football has been around for my entire lifetime. Basically, Duke football has almost never been good.
Fun fact about Manny Diaz for our longtime listeners who will know who my friend James from Mississippi is, who now, went back to college as an adult and is now a high school football coach in the state of Mississippi, where high school football is very, very important. But one of the best evaluators of coaching talent I've ever seen in my life. We've been friends for years. Back in 2006, when Manny Diaz became the defensive coordinator at Middle Tennessee, he called me on the phone and said, "Turn on the Middle Tennessee game." It's on Thursday night, Tuesday night, whatever night of the week the game was on back in 06, 07. He said, "Watch this defense." He said, "That defensive coordinator, whoever that is," and he figured out his name was Manny Diaz. He said he will be a head coach one day. And so James is one of the best evaluators of coaching talent I've ever seen in my life, and is now a coach himself. So hats off to my buddy James. Longtime listeners of the show know what I'm talking about.
I'm impressed with Manny too. I thought he did a good job as the head coach at the University of Miami. Not a great job, but a good job. But he's a very impressive human being. He's a very impressive leader. His players love him. His assistant coaches love him. People around him love and respect him. I'm overwhelmingly impressed by Manny Diaz. If he loses to Virginia, is the Penn State athletic director going to hire a 7-6 Duke coach? I've never cared about winning the press conference, but in the real world, they worry about that stuff. Maybe Manny's background there helps, because so many people do fondly remember his 2 years in college college Happy Valley. But we'll see. I'm not sure where Penn State's going from here.
And by the way, I want to remind people that, DG, you covered Duke during the period where they did not win a single game for 4 straight years. 2002 to 2006, Duke did not win a football game. And it was an article in the NNO years ago about that Duke had a football summit where they were afraid, the school was afraid they were going to be kicked out of the ACC because they were so bad in football. Next thing you know, they hired David Cutcliffe. They have all kinds of money put into football. And that's what it takes to win at the level of Division I football.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, even under Mike Elko, who now at Texas A&M, who did a good job for 2 years at Duke, and obviously there's been this massive upspring. Duke football was mostly dead between the end of the 1980s, when Steve Spurrier, the legendary coach, led them to an ACC football championship, 1989, Duke was mostly dead between the end of the 80s till the hiring or a few years into the David Cutcliffe era. I know there was one exception with Fred Goldsmith, but overwhelmingly, they were just the dregs of the power conferences. Cutcliffe made them a consistently solid competitive team and sometimes a winner. Elko had them playing at a high level for 2 years. Now Manny Diaz for a couple years. Despite this modern day success, there is very, very little support. I don't mean administrative. I don't mean financial. There is a tiny fan base, relatively speaking, for Duke football. I've gone to those games. I mean, guys, when the Devils are really, really good, the place is still partly empty. I'll say mostly full, but they can have good competitive football teams, and like even on senior day, half the stands are empty. Maybe they're selling those tickets, but it's that culture word. People just overwhelmingly do not do the deep passion dive for Duke football, even though it's gotten so much better. They can still be competitive because of good coaches, because of revenue sharing money. Their quarterback, Darian Mensah, the best player on their roster, was purchased from Tulane. He's a multi-million-dollar per year quarterback, and he'll probably play in the NFL someday. That's lifted the program this year. But the fan support, man, it's just incredible. It's hard to watch sometimes because I know how hard the coaches are coaching. I know how hard the players are playing, and they've got family and friends in the stands, and some students, to their credit, are passionate and loud and early. But on a consistent basis, it's just not a Power 4 football environment. And there are plenty of schools, including ECU, from outside the top 4 conferences who create a better game day environment as well. And those coaches know that. I mean, Mike Elko knew he could only take Duke football so far. Texas A&M was good to give him every possible resource he could ask for to try to do what he's doing now. So we'll see how that situation plays out. But my bottom line is I respect Manny the way that Kyle's friend and more astute observer of coaching talent respects Manny.
Yeah, no doubt. By the way, DG, the only time I've seen Wallace Wade Stadium packed to the not rafters, but packed, is when the Rolling Stones played there. I think it was in 2006. I was there, and I'd gone to, as a kid growing up in Durham, I've been to many Duke football games. And you could easily go to the concession stand. There was nobody there.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous that night, how bad the traffic, just everything was so bad because you're so used to things being so miserable. And the Rolling Stones, it was like everybody and their mama was there.
Yeah. I've seen the place lively for concerts. I'll give them credit occasionally. Remember they played, what was it? Last year they played Clemson in that big early season game. That was a pretty good football environment. National TV, maybe that was Labor Day weekend or one of those openers. But it's rare. And it's rare even when the Blue Devils have good football teams. And that just doesn't happen at many of the schools in the top conferences.
DG, we haven't talked about signing day yet. We were going to earlier. I don't know how much you keep up with high school recruiting these days. A little bit. Okay. What are your thoughts on East Carolina signing class, if you know much about it?
Yeah, I mostly know what I've read. I follow the state of North Carolina, and ECU invested in our state well. From what I've read, according to the American Conference rankings, the Pirates had one of the better recruiting classes. But I don't follow player by player the way I used to follow recruiting. For probably 20 plus years, I wrote about football recruiting as one of my job descriptions. Now I write about it more in a general sense. And my focus has been in the last couple of years more on the transfer portal. Today's high school national signing day. The transfer portal obviously hasn't happened yet. So in the transfer portal era, I put a little less weight on the developments of a day like this, not because these guys don't matter, but because overwhelmingly these guys are going to be backups or red shirts next year. And these coaches are tweaking their approach because they know transfer portal guys are infinitely more likely to give them the immediate impacts that they think they need for the 2026 season.
Yeah, we signed a lot of linemen and offensive and defensive, and I think I think our O line coach and Roy Tess, our D line coach, I think they're both incredible at developing talent. If you look at our defensive line this year, as good as it was, those guys, most of them hadn't played very much. They were all guys that had been in the system behind guys preparing to play, which is rare in this day and age of college football. And so I like it that we signed a lot of linemen. I think I think we're going to need some immediate help on the line this year that we're going to have to address in the portal. But those guys are hard to get. Those are the hardest guys to get out of the portal. So I think, signing a good high school and JUCO recruiting class for our offensive and defensive line, I think that was the right move because you can get quarterbacks, receivers, tight ends, running backs. You can get all those guys out the portal. The hardest thing to get is the lineman for a group of 5 school.
Yeah, we have 16. By the way, Johnny, jump in. But we have 16 signees. 8, David, we have 5 offensive linemen for signees and 3 defensive linemen. I really like this class because JR, chime in if you want, but you hear the cliche of a game is won in the trenches, and we really, really, if we want to elevate our game, we've got to get our offensive linemen and defensive linemen. We've got to have a lot of depth.
Yeah, we also got 2 edge rushers, which that is probably another position that's critical. And our top recruit was an edge rusher, Taronde Spencer from Richmond, North Carolina. But David, you said earlier that that by far the 4 states that produce the best quality high school football players, Georgia, Florida, Texas, and California. Well, I mean, East Carolina, and I believe you're right about that, but East Carolina is on the right path then, because I mean, in this class, they had 16 signees. Every one of them was from either Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, or Florida. And those 4 states have produced 65 of the Pirates' 80 signees over the last 4 seasons. That's like 82% of all their signees over the last 4 years have been from Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida. So, I feel like they're on the right track there. But I know you're a North Carolina guy, like the state of North Carolina. So I found this stat interesting. So I'm just going to throw this out there. I took the 7 D1 universities in our state, and I looked at their recruiting class for the last 2 seasons. And then I figured out how many total signees they had and how many of them were from the state of North Carolina. And East Carolina is number 1 with 23.1% of their signees being from the state. And it broke down to 9 out of 39. And then second was NC State, 9 out of 46 at almost 20%. And then, it goes down. App State was next, and then Duke, and then Wake, and then UNC, and then Charlotte only had 4 of 40. So, I mean, as far as getting in-state talent, I mean, the Pirates are right there in the mix with everybody and actually outperforming them. So I was impressed with that as well.
Yeah, it's a philosophical thing, right? How much weight do you place on recruiting guys close to home? A lot of times schools will recruit where their staff has the best relationships. Like I would say, regardless of who the head coach in any era, any time at ECU is, you'd be crazy not to, of course, recruit North Carolina, but you'd be crazy not to recruit Georgia because of those numbers we're talking about. You'd be crazy not to recruit Florida because of the numbers we're talking about. And maybe it wasn't a big thing this year, but because of ECU's proximity to Tidewater, Virginia especially, I know the Pirates have a great track record for getting talented players from there. That is high-level high school football competition. So you're playing with and against better players, and they have produced an extraordinary number of college players for just a subsection of the Commonwealth of Virginia. So, it makes sense. We're getting more and more to a world where more players are willing to go far away. I would say we grew up in a world where a lot of guys wanted to stay, where their friends and family could drive to see them play. And there's still some of that. And maybe that's why you see that kind of regional recruiting that is reflected in the Pirates class this year. but everybody's different, right? And it goes back to relationships. Who do your assistant coaches know? Who does your recruiting coordinator, general manager know? Who do they trust to give them the real inside scoop on a player? What's he like beyond what you can see on video? Relationships always matter in recruiting, and coaches are going to trust what they see and trust their own talent evaluation skills, but they're tapping into those relationships with high school coaches every year.
No doubt. And Blake Harrell is a North Carolina guy, from the western part of the state. So it makes a lot of sense. We also do well in South Carolina and have for several years now. You did make a good point. I was thinking the same thing. Nobody this year from the Tidewater. A little surprising there. I don't know if we just don't have, our wide receivers coached at ODU the last several years. So a little surprised that we didn't get anybody from that area. But I don't know if it's a situation where it's just how it worked out. There's more Division I schools in Virginia now with ODU, James Madison, Liberty. So who knows? But that is interesting that we signed nobody from the Tidewater.
I was wondering too, guys, about
David's right. I mean, they do produce a ridiculous,
And change your name to Johnny Lag.
That signal broke up on me a little bit there.
Yeah, I think it's on my end, to be honest with you. I think I was buffering when I was trying to say something, so I don't even know did anybody hear anything?
Yeah, I did. You cut Dave off. You got lag. Is what's going on. You cut David Richmond off, not David Glenn.
Okay, so I've already had my one strike for the night, arguing with David about Duke football. I should have known better than that, but I can't afford a strike two here, so I apologize, Dave.
No problem.
David Richmond, what were you saying?
So I was saying, DG, about having 16 for the Pirates. It's probably because we're saving a lot of the scholarships and stuff for the transfer portal, right? I mean, I think the JUCO days are unfortunately not what they used to be because of that. But the grad transfers and the transfer portal, we're saving. That's why maybe we don't have the Tidewater guys. And plus the number of schools, like Kyle said, from Division I or more, just like we have 7 in North Carolina.
Oh, one thing to watch, and it's a good point, Dave. I do think that one of the reasons, think about it. Today, UNC signed 39 players. And what was ECU's number, 16?
Yep.
That definitely reflects that Carolina is not planning to spend as high a portion of its money in the transfer portal this year. They spent money on incoming freshmen. They, of course, are spending money on guys that they want to return from the current roster. And you just look at the numbers. The Tar Heels they can't possibly sign a huge number from the portal because they just signed 39 guys. Not all of them were high school guys. There might have been 1 or 2 JUCO guys, just like I think ECU had 1 JUCO guy on today's list. But yeah, those numbers reflect where these programs are going in the upcoming transfer portal. So yeah, I think ECU fans can look forward to a larger number of transfers, and Carolina fans, for example, are going to have to look forward to a smaller number of transfers and, dive into those 39 bios from today's signees for Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I think East Carolina has in mind, particularly if we can keep our quarterback and keep most of the staff together, whether that's with or without JDB. I think the writing's on the wall with South Florida, North Texas, Tulane, Memphis, all having to replace head coaches next year. The time seems now to go try to win this conference and make a run at the playoff. And so, yeah, I think it would be a good strategy to hit the portal harder this year. Obviously, we are with only 16 high school guys. And hopefully, we can keep quite a few guys. The first thing you got to do in this day and age after high school recruiting, before you hit that portal, you got to recruit your own guys again.
Yep.
And so that's what I'm sure the task at hand is right now. How much money is it going to take to keep, a lot of guys in place and try to get that done? And, with somebody like Caden Hauser, for example, with the quarterback, even though the portal doesn't officially open until January, we need to know sooner than later what his decision is, because obviously that's the most important position. And we got to be getting on another quarterback that can start right away if he's going to leave. Now, hopefully he doesn't, but I would imagine Hauser's going to have a lot of offers. So, it's really, it just ain't like it used to be. We're so you high school recruiting done. Next task, recruit your own players over again.
Yeah, I was going to mention too, guys. By the way, one of our sources, Kyle, told me there's I shouldn't even say this on the air, but I want to say it for the sake of our other donors. But there's a big donor meeting tomorrow night on campus. And guess what they're going to be talking about? Yes, more money for revenue sharing. I'm telling you right now, Kyle said it, so I give him credit. A year or two ago, once we get the indoor practice facility, which we've raised the money for that, we've raised the money for baseball expansion. Right now, everything that you have, if you have money inside the couch, cushions, whatever, we'll take it. Let's go all in. It's like Elvis, it's now or never, because like Kyle said, this is a time now. If you've ever wanted to win a conference championship in the American, it's now. And I tell you what, it's been a long time, DG. 2008, 2009, Skip Holtz, future ECU Hall of Famer, as a coach. That's the last time we won a conference championship. It was in Conference USA. We've never won one in the American. And that's what I would sell Hauser with is, hey, man, we're going to give you $1 million. And a lot of other players we're going to give money to. We have a shot to win a title and go to the playoff. And most of these kids that are going to DG, I love talking about schools in North Carolina and ACC, but we have a better shot to make it next year than North Carolina, NC State. I don't know what Duke's going to bring, Wake Forest, Appalachian State. I really feel like that we're the team in North Carolina that can make it to the playoffs.
It's going to be fun to watch. And by the way, that drought you just described, even though I know Pirate Nation is longing for another conference title, and what was it? Just say 2009, 2000. Yep. That's a drought. But when you look around our state, that's actually a short drought. Carolina hasn't won a conference championship in football since 1980. NC State hasn't won one since 1979.
First grade and second grade for me.
Duke hasn't won one since 1989, and that'll be the number unless they beat Virginia on Saturday night. 1989. I mean, Wake has won a little bit more recently, but that's even longer than the Pirates drought. So all things are relative, I guess. And it's really hard to say in terms of, who has the best chance at breaking through next year. Man, these rosters have so much turnover now. I couldn't predict anything for next year for any of these teams because all we know is that guys who have exhausted their eligibility are moving on. That's the only thing we know. Which of the good guys that you want to stay are actually going to stay. Now we know who they signed in the high school ranks, but again, they don't impact the 2026 season as much as freshmen used to be able to impact the first year on campus. Some will, there's always exceptions, but not a volume of them. And now we got to wait and see how the transfer portal works, both outgoing and incoming. Wake wants to build on an 8-win season. Carolina wants to reverse its fortunes under Bill Belichick. Manny Diaz and Duke feel like they have some momentum. Dave Doran has decided to stay at NC State and had a decent year this year. So who knows, man? I think we could have a totally different outlook come, mid-January after seeing how things shake out in the transfer portal. Only then will we really know which school we feel most optimistic about.
I did have a question. Kyle, I had a question that Kyle would like to know too, and Johnny. I know what you're going to say, DG, because you put your attorney hat on. What you're going to tell me, it depends on how the contract is written. I know what you're going to tell me, but I'm still going to ask this anyway. And that is Duke. Wake Forest was coming to East Carolina. They've pulled out. They're buying out the contract, and that was for $750,000.
Yep.
they're giving us that was 27, right, Kyle and Johnny?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And then 28, we're going to Winston-Salem, and they're giving us $300,000 to go there. When do we get that buyout money? Is that what I think is whatever the contract says?
It is. Yeah, I don't know all the details on that, but it's typically written in there. You know, the same clause where you would say, if Wake Forest cancels this game, Wake Forest owes East Carolina, fill in the blank, the amount of money. That same clause should say, you know, either due in installments, due by this date. 100% of it is due by this date. So I don't know exactly the answer to that question.
The reason I brought that up, and Kyle and I were talking about that on the show and off the air, was if it was given to us immediately when they said they were going to buy it out, John Gilbert, the athletic director of East Carolina, said that money is going to revenue sharing. So we were hoping that we could take my idea is take that money and put that towards Hauser, put that towards football, so that you would have a nice little egg. And then also the reason I brought that up is I know that Pays said that we've got $3 million?
Yeah, but I don't think that's until next year.
Yeah. Hey, I was told, and I wouldn't even put this out there if I didn't really, really trust this source, that it's not going to be a problem paying Caton Hauser. I think, is Chandler Morris making 1.5, David? Does that sound right to you?
That does sound right.
That does sound right. Yeah,
that's what I was told.
The going rate for an ACC quarterback is over $1 million for sure, and there are $2 million guys, and there are $3 million guys,
and there's Mensa.
Mensa set the bar. Yeah,
and sure did. And I know Drones is making $1 million, and that that was not money well spent. My point is, I feel like the high for Caton is probably 1.5, and I've been told that that is not going to be the problem. The problem is going to be if JDB leaves and he doesn't want to learn another offense, he might go with them, but he's not going to leave for more money. If he leaves, it's going to be with, the same offense he's been playing in.
Well, you can keep the same offense. We just got to get a guy.
Yeah, that would be a perfect answer, Kyle.
Yeah. I mean, a similar coaching tree. I don't know that there's anyone on staff. I know Matt Maddox, our O-line coach, who's a great O-line coach, called plays at UTSA for a season. But, I don't know how comfortable he is calling plays in this offense. I don't know. But there are plenty of guys out there who run this offense or similar there too. That would be what I would do if we do lose JDB. Our colleague who was us tonight, Matt Semenza, talked about it at nauseum. Keep the same offense in place because he thinks that, I think it's a good fit for East Carolina, period. I will say this, though, and I'll remind all East Carolina fans of this about Caton Hauser, and I think it's a really good thing to keep in mind. North Texas lost Morris to UVA. They're playing for the conference championship. Tulane lost their quarterback to Duke. They're playing for the conference championship. So it ain't so much sometimes what you lose is who you replace them with.
Good point.
Very good point. And DG, you're spot on. It's probably when we're talking about the bowl talk, just like it's all speculative, just like with what we're talking about, who we're going to be able to keep and who's going to go. But I do believe there's a lot of guys because our fan base and our big donors are starting to see, so if we pay this out, and it's legal now. It's not like the days, DG, when we were growing up with the Pony Express, where the governor actually was getting involved back in the old days of the conference and back in the day and the Southwest Conference. So now it's legal to pay players.
You're right, man. I mean, SMU's death penalty case was a bizarre set of circumstances way back in the 1980s. Not everything that they did wrong is legal today, but the starting point, yes, was paying players. And now, heck, the university can pay players directly for the first time in the history of the NCAA. That started this year. And obviously, you still have the third-party NIL money. So it's two-pronged. Like, even at the schools that are paying to the max, that $20+ million internal revenue sharing, there's a lot of difference between, a big city school like the University of Miami. There's more corporate interests associated with that university. Plus, it's such a huge place with so many corporations that the Hurricanes have a lot of third-party NIL money to supplement the internal revenue sharing money. And that varies a lot from school to school, even within the ACC. So it's not an even playing field. It's never been an even playing field. It's never going to be an even playing field. Each university just has to do the best that it can. And one thing the university can control, obviously, is how high up the ladder they go with that internal revenue sharing money. And it's, in the ACC, for example, Bill O'Brien, longtime head coach, college and pro, just went 2-10 with the Eagles. And what happened? He said, I'm doing the best I can. You're the only school in the ACC, or one of the only schools, that's not paying to the $20.5 million internal revenue sharing. Guess what? Boston College's AD came out with a statement saying, starting next year, we're paying to the 20.5 limit, and we're going to give, most football schools or most ACC schools are giving their football program $13-14 million a year out of the 20.5 million. Men's basketball might get $4 to $6 million. It varies by school, and each school can decide that pie chart breakdown individually. You don't have to give football $13 million. That's just kind of what the average has settled into. But these things matter. There's no doubt that it matters. You still have to do the stuff you used to do. You got to evaluate things right. If you lose your quarterback, you got to find that right fit somewhere out there, right? And nowadays, you got to find somebody who can plug and play. The sign and develop still matters, but at the quarterback position, as Kyle said, I mean, if Tulane and North Texas not only lost their quarterbacks, but didn't have the plug and play guy ready to go, they're not playing in the conference championship game. So you got to be ready for all of these eventualities and possibilities, especially at places like quarterback. If you have a mediocre quarterback, you need to be really good in other areas to have a good season. And most schools are not capable of that road. So we've got a lot to watch, man. The transfer portal is shorter than it used to be. I mean, it started like 60 days, I think it was, then 45, then 30. It keeps shrinking. So it might be a little less chaotic. But, yeah, we got a lot of dominoes that are going to be falling all over the place, incoming and outbound, for every school that we all follow.
Maybe if it keeps shrinking, it'll disappear.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. By the way, DG, if people don't think that the quarterback play is important, and why in the world, there are people out there right now listening and watching DG going, these guys are crazy talking about these numbers. That's reality now. And guess what? If you don't want to win, that's fine. Don't spend the money. But we're going to have to spend that money, because if we don't, I'll just remind you, it was only in 2023 we went 2-10, and it's because we didn't have a quarterback. So it wasn't that our cupboard was bare; we just didn't have a quarterback. And so you're going to have to pay to play, and you're going to have to pony up the big money. And the people that take showers after work, if they can give $100 a year, if you can only give whatever you can give per month, do it. Because I don't know about you guys, but I like to win. I don't care if it's
showers after work.
Yeah, a common man, where they work really hard to sweat.
The white collar people don't shower. Do they not take showers? DG, you were a lawyer. Did you shower?
I shower fairly regularly.
Good. I thought so. Dave, I knew what you were saying, man. I'm messing with you.
Yeah.
I had a point I was going to make, but I got too busy picking on Dave. I lost my. I totally lost my train of thought. So somebody take it.
Okay, I'm going to ask Dave a quick question. Well, give me your feelings on UVA and NC State in Brazil. Hey, at least it's a conference game this time, though.
Yeah, that's funny. I think it's cool. I'm a fan of the old quote, variety is the spice of life. So it's good to grow the game. It's good to let your staff members and athletes see another part of the world. heck, if it's fun for the media if you can afford to get there. It's not a bad place to have an assignment to cover a football game and maybe get some culture along the way.
I hear
cool
the women ain't bad looking there.
I've seen parts of the world that I never might have gotten to by covering college basketball tournaments. I haven't done as much of it on the football side, but the deal. We see it in the NFL where there have been very popular games in England, in Germany, in Mexico, et cetera. They have a massive incentive at the NFL level to simply grow their economic model. The NFL is the most popular sport in the history of the United States of America, the current NFL. And, what are their next horizons to grow to? How can they grow their financial pie? That's one way to do it. So I don't remember all the financials related to that UVA NC State game in Brazil, but certainly revolutionary. And I don't see much of a downside to do that kind of thing once in a while.
One of the questions I had, I'm glad you brought that up, Johnny, was in Pirate Nation, what country would you like to see the Pirates play in?
Yeah. Oh, what would be a good place for the Pirates to play in? I feel like the Pirates should play in one of the Caribbean bowls. Isn't there? What's the most?
There's the Bahamas Bowl.
The Bahamas Bowl. Yeah, that would be fun. I know there's a Hawaii Bowl, but some people don't like going to that for various reasons.
We beat Boise State in that back in
2007.
Yeah.
I've been to Hawaii on sports-related assignments, and it's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been.
I'm a little surprised Puerto Rico doesn't have a bowl with it being, obviously part of the United States. I'm sure there is plenty of soccer and baseball stadiums in Puerto Rico that could be utilized for a bowl game. I'm a little surprised that doesn't exist.
What would you call it, Kyle?
How big could the Bahamas Bowl stadium possibly be, right? Probably not very big. And really, the economics of the smaller bowl games are really just taking that paycheck for creating a $1 million or 1 million viewer TV opportunity during the holidays. Everybody loves football, and that's how those bowl games pay for themselves, by taking those big TV paychecks for a lot more than putting fannies in the seats. And that's why some of these smaller bowl games are in pretty small stadiums.
You asked me what would I call the Puerto Rico Bowl, JR?
Yeah, but let's get right down to it. I guess it would be whoever sponsored it nowadays. That's how it goes.
Yeah, whoever sponsored it. You're exactly right. I don't know. I don't. The Puerto Rico Bowl, the Black Bean Bowl. I don't know.
I said Menudo, like the group back in the day.
Oh,
in the 80s.
God. No, were they Puerto Rican? They were from Mexico, weren't they?
No, Puerto Rican.
Are you sure? You know what, Dave? You know what? Never mind. I'm going to default to you on this. You do definitely know Menudo better than me. You're right. I'm not going to argue with you. You know Menudo. And he's going to let that stand. Okay.
Yeah. They were on like ABC back in the day, Saturday mornings. I don't know. When I was probably 10, 12.
What are your thoughts on New Kids on the Block, Dave?
my sister absolutely loved them. I hated them.
I remember your sister loving them. I remember your sister and my sister both absolutely loving them.
Yeah.
My sister's favorite was Donnie, and I think your sister was a Jordan fan, if I remember right.
That's correct.
So.
Yeah. My sister even had the sheets, and they actually played at in Winston-Salem at Wake Forest's football stadium back in 89, 90 when they were really big. So I never thought I would be talking about New Kids on the Block on our show.
DG, fun fact, Dave's sister and my sister were best friends growing up in elementary and middle school. And Dave reached out to me to do the show with him because he knew me from Pirate Radio calling in so much back in 2018. And we started talking, and I hadn't seen Dave because Dave, how much older are you than me? 7 years?
8. You were,
years.
When I first knew you, you were 8 and I was 16.
Yes. So we started talking. I was like, wait a minute. And I realized who he was. It's like, Dave,
Wow.
I know you. So it was one of those things. Like, your sister and my sister were best friends. He said, who's your sister? And he was like, holy crap. So it's just one of those weird serendipitous things. But it's fun fact for anybody that gives a damn.
I
My
like it.
sister,
That's
yeah.
a fun story.
And
I
I
had no
moved
idea
away.
that's
Didn't live
part of how
anywhere near. Go ahead,
this
DG.
thing
I'm
came
sorry.
together.
Yeah, and I wasn't living in Williamston, hadn't in years. And Kyle from LaGrange, as everybody calls me. And so Dave, we had no idea. I knew. I was like, wait a minute, you're that Dave Richmond. So there we go.
Yeah, he loved my Atari collection. We both love video games, so especially
Yeah. His sister used to come over to my house, and obviously Dave being older than me, he wasn't. He'd gone away to college, and this was in the early days of NES. But I still had an Atari 2600. I loved playing it. And his sister Amy would bring his Atari games because he had Dave's dad didn't take a shower after work. Mine did, and he had a nicer Atari collection than I did. And Amy would bring games over to my house, like Pitfall 2, where I just had regular Pitfall and Cubert and some other classics. And so yeah, some background for some listeners that may not know that also.
Yeah, so DG, we kept you for 2 hours. Didn't mean to keep you this long, but obviously there's a lot to talk about. But
Hey, can I throw one more thing at him, Dave?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I know you're aware of this, David, but there's 19 Division I, universities playing basketball in our state. So in the power rankings, the Pirates are number 13, and I mean some of the schools that are ahead of us. I'm curious if you have any idea how well funded any of these schools are. I mean, I know High Point is. I know that for a fact.
Yes.
But what about Asheville, Campbell, Queens, Elon? I mean, I don't feel like we should be behind those schools. What are we doing wrong? Is there any hope for us? Give me some.
Yeah, I think one thing to remember is that, for example, UNC Wilmington on that campus, men's basketball is huge. And on ECU's campus, if people asked you guys what are the two most important sports on campus, you'd probably say football and baseball. I mean, I wouldn't put words in your mouth, but those are the first two that come to mind in my mind at ECU. At UNC Wilmington, it would be men's basketball and baseball. So a lot of fan support goes into men's basketball. As much revenue as possible goes into men's basketball. Same with UNC Asheville, right? No football. So their beacon, their bright light program is men's basketball. And they've also, like the Seahawks, they've had some success. High Point was just a private university with a dynamic president that came within the last decade and just poured a lot of money into the campus, poured a lot of money into academics, poured a lot of money into athletics. And now they're probably the best program in their conference. The Pirates do not have much basketball success historically, right? They just don't. And so you can't say, yeah, we send a lot of players to the NBA. You can't say, yeah, we compete for conference championships. So it's a difficult recruiting sales pitch at a place like ECU, whereas at UNC Wilmington can say, yeah, man, we won when Brad Brownell was the head coach here, and we won when Jerry Wainwright was the head coach here. We won when Kevin Keats was the head coach here, and we just won with Takeo Siddle as the head coach here, right? And UNC Asheville has its own version of that. Some of the others that you mentioned, I don't think they have as many built-in advantages over an ECU men's basketball program, but obviously the 4 ACC schools are going to be way high in those power rankings. UNC Wilmington, High Point, UNC Asheville, those, NC Central within its own league has been a prominent program with Lavelle Moten as their coach.
Elon's doing well too.
Been up and down. Some of the others, Queens is a relatively new program, so I don't know why they would be higher in the pecking order. But some of those things I mentioned are what would weigh any program down under any coach. If you can't say you send a lot of guys to the pros, you can't say you have a lot of winning records, you can't say you compete for championships, then you're going to have to rely on other things and personal relationships to attract high caliber recruits. And that's proven to be a difficult challenge for essentially every man who's been the head coach of ECU Pirates basketball. So it's going to take somebody special to kind of break out of that track record.
Blackwelder, I always say his name wrong, guys. Help me out here.
That's right. You got it right. Garrett Blackwelder.
He's put a lot of money into the ECU basketball program over the last 2 years, and
last year was pretty good. Last year was pretty solid.
Not for the amount of money he put in my opinion.
Yeah, I get it. But if we listed the 5 best seasons in ECU basketball history, we'd start running out of great seasons pretty quick.
Yeah, I know, but it just seems like, money should equal talent. I don't know. I don't know. I maybe think we should take the approach. So many schools are hitting the portal so hard. Less schools are hitting high school. That is one sport where you can immediately transfer from high school to college and compete right away. Still in basketball, maybe we should take some of that NIL revenue share money Blackwelder's been given to the basketball program and put it into high-level high school talent.
Yes.
And see if we can't, even if we get one good season out of them, make a run to the NCAA tournament, then let them all transfer to Kentucky and Duke.
Hey, by the way, guys, DG knows the answer to this question. But do you guys know what school spends more money on basketball than any other school in the nation?
UNC.
Duke. At $20 million a year. And so we don't have that kind of money, but there's
trying to be Duke.
I know. I'm just saying, if you hear me out, the issue is very simple. The issue is, if you don't put money into basketball, now I'll give credit to Gilbert and Ryan Robinson, everyone. They're spending more money in basketball than previous administrations.
I give credit to Blackwelder.
No, I know, but I'm talking about just overall expenses and all. We have Blackwater, which has helped, but the bottom line is, if we want to be better in basketball, you're going to have to spend a lot of money. Like, you're going to have to put, like DG was talking about High Point, you're going to have to put that emphasis. And if we ever want to be like one of the P4 schools, or even like in another conference, whatever, you're going to have to, men's basketball has to be a priority. And the administration gets mad when I say that, but that's just reality. That's like when Jack Nicholson said in A Few Good Men, you can't handle the truth. The truth is, we don't spend the money in basketball, and that's why we don't have the culture. That's why we don't have the tradition, because it's like it's an afterthought, and they get mad when I say that. But it's true.
The administration gets mad just because I exist. So I really don't care what they think.
It's hard to turn things around that were neglected for a long time. It's hard. It's not impossible, right?
Yeah.
Like Texas Tech in football right now is an example of a program that was mostly irrelevant for decades. Indiana football was mostly irrelevant for decades. I mean, long stretches where they didn't matter on the national scene even a little bit. I mean, a whole generation, decade after decade after decade. So, yes, it can be done. But, places like Duke in football, Wake in football, Carolina in football, they're swimming upstream because that sport was neglected on Duke. That sport was neglected on those campuses for a very long time. UVA football was neglected for a long time. They have 2 ACC titles in 72 years as a member. But, they're breaking through maybe. So it's possible, but man, is it hard. And sometimes that weight of history weighs you down such that it takes somebody special as a coach, supplemented by resources, to finally change the narrative the way those examples have been able to change the narrative at Texas Tech and Indiana and on the football side. Basketball, in theory, should not be as hard to turn around, right? You don't need as many dudes.
I think one of the biggest mistakes, and we'll start to wrap this up, but I think one of the biggest mistakes that I have, or the mistakes, I think one of the biggest problems I have with our current administration in regards to not just basketball, but in this case, basketball, is John Gilbert, our athletic director. And I think John does some things really well. I think that what he did last year, making the decision to hire Blake Harrell from interim to head coach, was the right decision, clearly. So he does some things really well. But when he comes out and says publicly, our goal is to make the NIT, don't say that, dude. Your goal should be to win the damn conference. Even if that's not your goal really internally, for you to say out loud, our goal is to make the NIT to me, it's just beyond ignorant. Well, that's going to motivate the hell out of the fan base. Our goals to make the NIT. And those words came out of his mouth on radio. And that's the kind of crap that just irritates me to no end. Is that a realistic goal? Yes. Is that something we should achieve to or strive for?
No.
Yes. You got to take you got to take baby steps. But
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
publicly, you should be saying our goal is to win the American Athletic Conference. Otherwise, we shouldn't be playing in the SOB.
I'm with you.
There are lots of true things that should not be said out loud.
Yep, absolutely.
That's just the bottom line. Man, Pat Narduzzi going into the game against Notre Dame said out loud, hey, if we lose to Notre Dame by 100, the more important thing is that we play well against, I think they had Georgia Tech and Miami coming up. The
Oh,
ACC.
my God.
So there was a kernel of truth that people could understand. Hey, getting to the ACC title game is more important than whatever the result is against this Notre Dame team. But you can't let your players, your fans, your donors, you can't let them hear you say out loud, if we lose to Notre Dame by 100. I mean, come on. Again, like all of us in our lives, there are true things that it would be unwise for us to say out loud.
Absolutely.
Right? That's just how life works. So, yeah, most of these guys get it. And you're right. Like, we don't expect them to say outrageously impossible things out loud. Just, you don't have to share everything. You don't have to share everything.
Yeah. And speaking of that, and then we'll wrap this up, Dave, unless you want to go longer. But the something I wanted to touch on quickly, the kind of the opposite thereof. Today, Dave, JR, and our listeners, if you received the letter from Blake Harrell, that was fantastic, where he blatantly put it out there. We are so close. If we can keep this thing together, if people will step up and donate, we can win the conference and go to the playoffs. He put it out there and said it in a letter today to the fans via email. I loved it. That's what I want to hear. That you shoot for the moon and you might miss and hit the stars.
Hey, TG, by the way, is it's kind of like the way that I see this whole thing about, being number one in revenue sharing in the American Hour Conference. It's like Ricky Bobby with Talladega Nights. If you ain't first, you're last. And so that's the way I feel about it is go big or go home. It's now or never. I feel like, and I was telling the guys in a text today, we're about $2 million from what we gather, all of us putting the pieces together. We're probably like $2 million away from being number one or close to Memphis, being number one in revenue sharing. And man, they have a lot more money than we do. Okay, great. But we need to have this massive campaign to raise boatloads of money. It's out there, but you've got to put the vision out there. You got to say, look, we need your help. And just like with Pirates Unite, they did a great job, the administration did, of we've raised like 45 million, 50 in a short period of time. So the money's there. It's just the vision. You got to give the people the vision that this is where we're going. This is what we've got to do. And if you do that, the people will give the money. There's folks like us, myself, Johnny, Kyle, Matt, we're giving small amounts of money, but all that money adds up. And that's my frustration is put it out there. Let's have this big campaign and let's go for it. If not, it's just frustrating for me to listen to, just to have like mediocre goals.
Yeah. Hey, I
don't
love
blame
that
you, man.
letter. I don't
blame you. If something's worth doing, it's worth doing right. I know that's an old cliche, but I think it's true.
Yeah, I was going to say, I love that letter from Blake, and it came at a good time. We're winning in football the last 2 seasons, but I don't worry about them, but I wonder about schools that are not having success. Is there going to be donor fatigue, do you think, David? At some point, people are going to get tired of donating and not seeing any results?
You would think. I mean, people who work in that fundraising world would probably have better, up-to-date answers for you on that. But human nature tells you yes. There are people who believe that there's a college sports money bubble just waiting to break.
I agree.
And now we've heard that variations of it for 20 plus years, and the bubble hasn't burst yet. But You're relying on some of the same people for external NIL money that you're asking to donate to either, one of these, either the booster club or a collective, or maybe the same person is being asked to donate directly to the university, but also to the collective, and also to have their own company, cutting NIL deals with athletes directly. That's hitting. We've already seen and heard athletic directors talk about some donor fatigue, but I haven't seen it reach that kind of boiling point yet. And I don't know when that threshold's going to be hit or if it's anytime soon.
What do you think of ECU's approach, DG, of doing away with the collective and putting it all directly into revenue sharing and asking all donations to go directly to revenue sharing?
I think it's smart. I would listen to those in that industry if they had a reason to do it a different way. But the bottom line is there needs to be cooperation, right? Like, you can't have the left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing. And I just had on my show a guy named Chris Vernakis, who runs an organization called One Pack, where there were multiple NC State related collectives. Now they're under one roof. That same group also works with the Wolfpack Club, also is in communication with the athletic director, so that, the left hand does know what the right hand is doing. And the head of the athletic department knows what each of those hands are doing and can communicate about what's necessary, the smartest and most efficient way to do things, how to minimize voter fatigue. As long as there's communication, that's the number one thing. We had a period of maybe 3 or 4 years there where the left hand at a lot of schools did not know what the right hand was doing. And I think gradually they've mostly landed in better places, and I think that applies to ECU as well.
No doubt. With DG, what a marathon. You're such a great sport with us, man. I appreciate it so much. Give our best to Maria and the kids, and hope you have a great holiday season. And hopefully we'll find out what happens with this whole scenario on Sunday, as far as I guess that's when the playoffs will be announced, the bowl games. And by the way, for fans, we will have a show on Sunday night at 8:00. So we'll be talking all about whatever's been going on between now and then. Of course, Kyle and everybody, we update our social media. So DG, before we let you go, how can people listen to your show, and can you tell us as far as your social media?
Yeah, probably the easiest thing to remember is just our website, which is ncsportsnetwork.com, for North Carolina Sports Network. I'm also still at David Glenn Show on Twitter and X. We actually have a YouTube channel that's now 55,000 subscribers, which is top 2% in the world. So I know part of that is some of your audience contributing to those numbers, so I'm appreciative of that. But on a lot of the socials, we're at the NC Sports Net, but our website does have links to all the different stuff we do: audio, video, our tailgate tour that travels, all of the above. It's ncsportsnetwork.com.
And one of David's sponsors, I believe, still, I have DG 4 Continental tires on my
Nice. Nice.
My grandfather, my dad's dad, was a big Continental tire fan, so maybe they'll come our way and be a sponsor. But thanks, DG. Appreciate it, bud. And we'll be talking again real soon.
All right,
hey,
Dave, Kyle,
David,
JR, good to see all you guys.
Thank you for putting up with that rant. Hey, when I give you a stat, I check it 2 or 3 times, and so I can defend it. And
I love your stats, JR. I love your stats.
But that whole the last 2 spots, the 11 and 12 seed, I was clearly misunderstood how that worked, or was confused or something, and I apologize for wasting so much of your time.
No apology necessary. I mean, there's a chance you had it right and I'm confused, but
it's doubtful at this point.
It's all water under the bridge, man. I always have fun with you guys.
All right, have a good night.
Take care.
Have a good one, guys. See you.
All right, bye-bye. All right, guys, do you have anything before we get out of here? No predictions tonight, obviously. So what do you got, Kyle? Anything?
Feel like crap.
Okay.
So I'm ready to get out of here and
Yeah,
go
me too.
get some rest.
Yeah,
And
I forgot you had COVID, Kyle. I shouldn't have
Jesus
poked you like
Christ,
that.
Jr.
I mean,
He said not to say his name.
I was trying my best to get a word in, and then, I overreacted to you, so I apologize for that.
That's okay.
Yeah, let's
I
get
more
out
If
of
I
so
here.
had
wish you
COVID,
just
I
hadn't
wouldn't
have
even
said
be
that.
on the show.
I more so wish you just hadn't have said that on the air. But
We're still in the air.
Yes. Yes.
Oh
All right, we'll get
boy.
out of here, guys. We'll see you guys on Sunday night. We'll be talking about where we're going bowling. We'll be talking about any kind of transfer, portal news, all that kind of stuff. And if you want all the latest, check out our social media across all the different platforms. Until next time, you've been watching and listening to TSO Wednesday Night right here on the Sports Objective. Good night, everybody, and go Pirates.
You're watching the Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.